Jordan, how would you describe the growth that Kean has made from last year to this year so far?
I think it's night and day difference. I think you just see a young man that's playing with a lot of confidence right now. The way he catches the ball, the way he's attacking, the way that he's fitting runs, his pad level. I think you just see the growth of a young man that, like I said, is comfortable. He's getting used to playing inside the box, the different things that we're going to ask him to do. And just his pass catching and playmaking ability make him unique, and that's what splashed when he was in high school. But as he gets more confident, you start to see his playmaking ability just grow exponentially.
What's exciting about some of these young guys you have like Powell and Thomas?
I think it's just a variety of different tools and toys that you get to play with, quite frankly. You have a kid that's 6'7" in TP, and then you bring in a kid like Dorian Thomas who is doing some things athletically that I haven't seen out of freshmen in a long time. So it's you get to grow the younger guys. They still have a lot of work left to do, but the best thing about it is they get to learn from guys that have game experience now with Tanner, with Roberto, with Key, and they're still young in their own right. So I think it's just the natural competition, and everybody competing for reps just naturally elevates the level of play in the room.
Switching to special teams, have you had a group of kicker, punter, snapper this experienced before in the time that you've been doing this, who've been together so long?
The continuity between those guys is uncanny, quite honestly. I think as those guys are starting to be comfortable, as this is, again, a second full season within this scheme and our operating procedure, it's kind of nice to have coaches on the field. They can anticipate calls. They kind of know what's coming. And ultimately, they're able to provide a lot of feedback with all the playing experience that they have. If we wanted to do something schematically and it just may not be feasible, or it's something that they have some input in, they find ways to make us better just through their impact. So I think in that regard, that's what's unique about having kids that have been here for 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. Does that make your job easier, bouncing back and forth between tight ends and special teams, that you've got maybe, hey, you guys run things a little bit yourself?
Sure, easier, maybe not. But I think what it does, it just gives me a lot of trust in them. So I feel very confident that when I say things or I give them instruction or I give them a little bit of free time to work on things that they need to work on, that they're going to utilize and maximize a lot of that time spent when I give them that sort of freedom.
How do things change for the offense from the tight end position now that people know who Tanner McLaughlin is? It's not a surprise coming at you like.
Honestly, that's the thing that I love about Tanner the most, is really just his hunger. Regardless, he could have caught 5 balls, as opposed to what he did production-wise last year, and you would have still seen the same hunger, the same attitude, the same chip on his shoulder. And I think, you go all the way back to his recovery story from injury. You go back to the way that he learned an offense in less than a year. And I think it's that same hunger, that same chip on his shoulder that continues to just be his driving factor, which I still think that his best football is still ahead of him.
Is there anyone that stood out to you on the punt team?
On the punt team, the best thing I think about it, just coverage-wise, I think it's the staples. I think, from DJ Warnell to Gunnar Maldonado to Dalton Johnson, there have been a couple young guys that have shown that have been really, really cool. But the nice thing about having so many different returners that aren't specialists on special teams gives you a lot of trust in that the adjustments, the calls, the scheme changes, what we want to get done, is going to be executed at the best of their ability and at a high level.
You guys had Bill Norton working with the Shield team there for a while as a first team Shield guy. What does that experience help up front for you guys in terms of having him back there? Already known special teams coming over from Georgia.
Sure. I think the best thing about Bill is the first day that he got in the building, he was like, "Pal, you just tell me whatever special teams you want me to be on, and I'm there, and I will do that to the best of my ability." So it just shows you that, it doesn't matter, where you come from, how highly recruited you are. We're always going to play our best players on special teams, and I think Bill is a cool living testament to it doesn't matter who you are on our team. They just want to contribute in whatever way to be able to provide chances to go win ball games.
How much of Kean's improvement is just added strength this season?
I think a lot of it is that, but I think that would just be a gross underestimate of how much he's worked in the classroom, in terms of growing schematic knowledge, concept knowledge, where he fits in within, and then more importantly, growing the opposite side of the defense as well, learning coverages, learning how to manipulate, routes and leverages and all this types of things. So I think not only has his strength improved, and that is, you're right, that has contributed to it, but I think more importantly is probably just his mental growth and how he approaches the game in the classroom. I think that's where I've seen the biggest strides out of him.
It seemed like during practice, the tight end group is working on catching in traffic. How much do you think that will help the team going forward in the season?
Well, I think that's where tight ends have to live and breathe, quite honestly, is the intermediate game, being able to utilize your hands and keep it away from your body, and then just anticipating contact. I think we have some really talented safeties, both on our team and in the league. In the games that we're going to play, we'd be naive to think that we're not going to have a lot of contested catches. So I think as much practice as we can get through that traffic, and then just having the courage to be able to know that you're going to take contact as you're catching the ball, I just don't think we can get enough reps of.
All right, that's it.
Thank you, everybody.